Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You are tuning in at IIUMTV live with political insights, 40 minutes of political knowledge. Dear everybody, today we are going to talk about very interesting topic. As you can see, I'm wearing baju batik today. So, with this, we are going to talk about political writing in Malay literature. So before we proceed with our topic for today, I would like to give a little bit definition about literature. So literature is a written arts that is considered to be superior and having high aesthetic and also artistic values. It is used to promote products, give advice, and also to talk about a specific or particular topic. Therefore, it is interesting to see whether the usage of political writing in Malay literature, how it is being used in the political landscape. Alright, so before we proceed with our discussion, I would like to first introduce briefly our speaker for today. So for today, we have Dr. Mohamad Hazizie, which is a lecturer and assistant professor at Department of History and Civilisation, AHAS KRKHS. Assalamualaikum, Doctor. How are you today?
Waalaikumsalam. Alhamdulillah, fine.
Alright, Doctor. Can you brief us a little bit about your academic qualifications and your achievement in the past?
Okay. Regarding my educational background, okay, so I do my degree and master here in Department of History, IIUM. While I do my PhD, okay, started in 2018 and finished in 2020 at IIUM. Okay, that's my little bit lah about my background. Okay.
Alright, thank you, Doctor. It seems that Doctor is the most suitable person to talk about this topic for today. Alright, okay, so I guess we just jump straight to the question. So the first question, in Malay we said that tak kenal maka tak cinta. So therefore I would like to ask a little bit introductory questions to you. So from your experience, can you share to us a little bit what is the factors that have led you to your interest or something that is sparked your interest towards the Malay literature?
Okay, thank you for the question, and very interesting question. That the basic question we asked to us. Okay, when we do our master or our PhD, why we choose this topic. Okay. Of course, the first starting point, I start to have interest with the Malay classical text when I enter this program, history program in our department, in our university, because it's really my initial intention from the beginning to do on the Malay studies. Okay, so from that period, I start to search for the Malay classical text. So I start to read, for example, Suatu Salatin, okay, Hikayat Bisa Melayu, Hikayat Raja Pasai, and all this type of text that I read. Okay. And then I further get exposure regarding this classical text around 2011, 2012, so I start my degree in 2010. Okay. When I joined this one Jawi workshop, okay, organized by this one, maybe we can say a kind of company, okay, that specialize on Jawi, in collaboration with the DBP, Dewan Bahasa and Pustaka. Okay, and this workshop was done at the KSIS UTM, okay, Jalan Semarak. So from this workshop, I've been exposed to all the classical text that available in our literature, okay, in our country. For example, for the Malaysia and as well for the nation as well. Because in the past is no, what can I say, a rigid separation between Malaysia and also Indonesia. Okay. So I learned all this text and I start to know that actually there are a lot of classical texts and with a lot of genre field covered by our classical text. Okay. Aside that this historical text that I mentioned, we also have what we call as the statecraft literature, or in Malay we call as the sastra ketatanegaraan. Okay, and that are the old word somehow we can say, or the original words for the Malay to refer to political punya issue, okay, political aspect, political thought, political governments, or this type, okay, this statecraft or ketatanegaraan. Okay, these are my turning point. Okay, and I know that in our country, okay, for example in our national library, in Dewan Bahasa and Pustaka, and even at our Estate Library, and even in our own IIUM library in Gombak, there are a lot unstudied manuscript. Okay. Especially on the religious manuscript, or we call sastra kitab somehow. Okay, and all these are still under study and just waiting for the new generation, for the new scholars to come up and study this to dig up all the old, maybe we can say the tradition or knowledge that we have in our tradition, in our society. And these are where the starting point, okay, that happened.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Doctor. It is interesting to see how joining a workshop or a program could change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess for everybody, do join some clubs and also workshops. All right. So the next question would be, people always see literature as a way to express and manifest their feelings and also to give advice. So in terms of politics, what is the role of literature? Does it only goes to the way of spreading ideologies, or does it go beyond that?
Okay. Yeah, it's also, we cannot deny, it's also to spread the ideology or propaganda or kind of, yeah, government punya propaganda, okay, dia punya ideology. But they also sometimes, okay, there are certain texts subtly or implicitly try to criticize the rulers and also the existing society by that time. But of course, in our society, okay, with our Malay society, we are known for our politeness, okay, for our what we call always berkias, for example, in our saying, in our action. So sometimes, most of the time, okay, the criticism was very subtle. Okay, only we read, okay, a few times and we try to find what are the idea behind that. Only then we know, actually it's a kind of criticism. For example, in the suatu salatin, or we call Malay annals, when they talk about the story of Puteri Gunung Ledang, the princess of the Mount Opir, okay, when the Sultan of Malacca want to marry that princess, and we know that there are many conditions given by the princess, okay, and this what we call the ridiculous, what we call condition. And our scholars say that actually this story is to criticize the rulers for those who are, yeah, always try to find beautiful wife only to satisfy their lives, for example. So these are a kind of criticism. Okay, so ideology, yes, we know that, but we cannot deny the part for the criticism, but very subtle and very, yeah, criticism for our rulers and society.
All right, so it's more like to satire or to
Yeah,
criticize the social critics they give.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I think next question would be, what kind of style and tone that the writer used to convey the political issues in their works?
Okay, that's one of the interesting part, because I want to highlight, okay, this one text, Tajuk Salatin, okay, the earliest text on statecraft or on ketatanegaraan that we have, written in 1603 in Aceh. Okay, of course the other texts are very subtle, like I mentioned before. Okay, but by this Tajuk Salatin, okay, interestingly, when the author able to give some kind of very vocal, and we can consider a kind of extreme or radical views or radical way of expressing their views or their advice. Okay, when they say that the concept of leader or the concept of ruler in our Islamic tradition, okay, we are the Khalifatullah. Okay, that means or we can say the Zilullah fil alam, Zilullah fil alam. Okay, the shadow of God in the earth. But the Tajul Salatin also put forward further explain that that title only fit for the scholars or for the rulers who are doing justice, following the Sharia. But for those who are doing cruelty, doing injustice, okay, that title is not fit for them. But they are the shadow of devil in the earth. So very vocal for that period lah, for that period in 17th century, very vocal actually. For the one outer to dare to speak openly like that. So we have both type of style or the way of saying the advice.
Right, understand. Okay, before maybe we go for the commercial break, last question will be, there were various kind of literary works, and what are the most common types of literature and themes that are used to deliver political messages?
Can you repeat that question again?
Okay, what are the most common types of literature and themes that are used to deliver political messages?
Okay. For the types or the genre of the literature, okay, of course, one of the I mentioned is this historical text. So that's one of the obvious thing. But this historical text is not for the whole text. Okay. But the advice was given in terms of well, we can say the will of the rulers. Okay, in the deathbed. Okay, when they are in the brink of death, okay, they will give some kind of advice or will to their successor, and they will give. And these are the part where the author put the advice to rulers that the rulers must be just, must be kind to their people. So these are the style and the kind of type of the literature that we use. And other than that, we have this specific sector of literature. Okay, that I mentioned one of the type is Tajul Salatin. And other than that, that are quite interesting and been maybe I can say recently discovered by our scholars actually, because we are took it for granted. Okay, when our religious books actually, our religious texts also somehow talk about it. Okay, talk about it because for the long time, our scholar think or thought that the religious text only talk about religious issue, about the ibadah, okay, about the ritual, okay, or about the akidah, about the creeds only. But when they look further, there are few example. For example, recently published found text in Kedah called Nasihat Raja-Raja, the advice to the ruler, written by one of the mufti of Kedah in the 17th century. Okay, it's a religious text by nature, but in the muqaddimah or in the introduction of this text, they actually advice for the rulers. Okay, and somehow this when the researchers study about the text, and it's somehow just following, okay, the existing what we can say style, the existing concept about the rulers. That means about the importance of akidah, for example. That means the ruler have been ordained by the Allah SWT and they must follow the Sharia. Okay.
Alright. Okay, thank you, Doctor. I guess we get a little bit of the introduction and a little bit of the sneak peek what is actually political writing in Malay literature. So I guess before we proceed too much deeper and dive into this topic of discussion about Malay literature, you can grab a cup of coffee and please stay at your seats because we'll be live back after the commercial break.
Ni cakap, penat lah you. That's fine.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We're back with our next session of Political Insights, 40 minutes of political knowledge. Alright, so previously we are having a little bit sneak peek and also introduction about our topic for today, which is political writing in Malay literature. And I guess it would be wise to start our next session, right, Doctor?
Okay.
Okay, so the questions that will be asked to the doctor is, does the spread of Islam in Nusantara or Malay archipelago influence Malay classical writing? And if yes, how does it affect the way writers write their writing?
Okay. Islamization is also another interesting part, interesting topic that been discussed by the scholar. To what extent Islam really embedded or really influenced our society, and again, in what way? Okay, how we are going to explain, or we can give example for that. Okay. In terms of political idea or political writings, okay, one of the important changes that happen is the, how I can say it, the kind of improvement or the Islamization of the concept of the ruler. Okay, that I mentioned before, this zilungah fil alam concept. Okay. Before Islam, of course, we have this quite the same idea when the ruler had been regarded as the divine figure. Either they are kind of reincarnation of the divinity or the gods, or they are itself the god. Okay, the son of the god or the son of the dewa, we can say in the Malay, that have been sent to the earth, to the Malay society. Okay, and with the coming of Islam, okay, we had changed this idea, okay, with this idea of the zilungah fil alam. Okay, also we have the divinity in there, but instead of saying the ruler as the divine figure, divine element, okay, they say that the ruler is just a normal person, just a human, bound by God's rule, bound by Sharia, bound by the teaching of Islam, okay, through the Quran and also through the Sunnah. Okay. And that's why, for example, scholar take example about the, again, satu Salatin, okay, Sirah Melayu, when they talk about the descendants of the first Malay ruler, okay, this Sri Tribuana and his sibling, okay, when they ask who are they said that we are just a human, like you all, okay, like you, the Malay, okay. So that one thing, okay, the changing of the concept of Dewa Raja, so called, we can say in the Malay, to the Zilungah fil Alam. Okay, and the continuation of this idea is that is the coming of the idea that the ruler is bound by the rule, by the law, and it was there in written, for example, mostly in our what we call legal text. Okay, our legal text, for example, Hukum Kandung Melaka. Okay, and in Perak we have this 99 laws of Perak. In Pahang also the canon law of Pahang as well. And in this legal text, it has been mentioned that yes, ruler is the supreme leader or the kings in the kingdom, but they always say that the rulers are bound by law. And whoever refuse to follow the Sharia, follow the law of the Quran and law of the Hadith, okay, the teaching of the Hadith, they are not fit to be ruler. These are quite explicit statement by our legalist, okay, the legal compiler. Okay, so we have this, at least these two changes or improvement, okay, in terms of political idea.
Thank you, Doctor, for the very cohesive explanation. All right, so the next question, how does literature exactly reflect or respond towards political events and ideologies of a particular time period? For example, during pre-colonial and also colonial eras, what does the literature play?
Okay, that the transition issue, somehow we can say, the transition period. Okay, they also have been studied by the scholar. Okay, how the change of idea, the change of concept have been portrayed in our classical text, for example. Okay, of course, in the pre-colonial, or when they are the kingdom or the sultanate still not been somehow dominated by the colonial. Okay, of course, the idea is about the supreme of the ruler. Okay, the legitimacy of the ruler as the supreme leader. Okay, But when the European or the colonizer come to this area, okay, somehow they are kind of one or two writers, okay, who try to legitimize, okay, the rule of the European, okay, in this region. Okay, we have one of the example is of course Abdulhamid, okay, in his hikayat Abdullah, and by this period also we can see that people are start to talk about the, of course when we talk more on later period by the early 20th century, okay, there are growing discussion, okay, on the democracy, for example, the rights of the people, for example, okay, that mean more vocal criticism towards our rulers, for example, there's among, okay, among the changing that happened, okay, between the pre-colonial and also the post-colonial era.
All right. I guess that really reflects how does the literature roles play in the, reflect and respond to the political events. All right. So the next question would be, I guess this is a little bit interesting. Are there any literary works that have a really significant impact on the political movement or ideologies? I mean, how strong does that literary works have given impact to the society?
Okay. Of course, for the pre-20th century, we cannot find the example because it's quite difficult. And of course, the concept is that we just accept this idea of the kingdom or the monarchy. Okay, that means the social activities or social movement are still not there yet by that time. Okay, but by the 20th century onwards, we have a few examples of this kind of literature, okay, that talk about the political issue, that talk about the economics, about the social condition of the Malays. And these works are really influenced the masses and really had somehow, maybe not directly, but indirectly inspire the people. Okay. For example, in the case of Indonesia, or before the independence called Netherlands East Indies, okay, this text was not written by the native itself, but by the Dutch. Okay. This Multatuli, okay, by Max Havelaar. Okay, although it was written by the Dutch themselves, but the criticism that have been put forward by this Multatuli somehow inspire the people to start to talk about the independence, okay, talk about the autonomy, okay, talk about the empowerment of the people, okay. And of course, for the Malay world, okay, for the case of the Malay Peninsula or the Malaya, okay, we have the very famous authors, for example, like Pak Sako, or we call Isa Haji Muhammad, okay, Ayanawati as well. All these people had wrote, okay, numerous short stories or cerpen we call in Malay. Okay, and these cerpen are really inspire the people. And again, back to Indonesia as well, we have the famous, I think if we guilty for me if I not mention his name, this Pramodia Ananta Toil, okay, in his 4 series of books, okay, Bumi Manusia and the others, and they also under insignificant books or novel, okay, that talk about the political issue, economic, that inspire the Indonesian people. Okay, and other than that, we must understand, okay, for us to figure out, okay, what are the writings what exist. In the past, in the early 20th century, the writing was not published as a novel, like one big novel or one big cerpen or short stories. Okay, this writing at first appear in magazine or newspaper in series. Okay, sometimes maybe up to 20 series, and only then later had been compiled and into one book. So we must also not neglect, okay, the newspaper or magazine, the role played by them, okay, to become the medium, okay, to spread of this literature.
Alright, thank you, Doctor. Okay, I guess one more questions before we go to our commercial break. So it is understood that there has been a coexisting relationship between politics and literature. So in this matter, how does this relationship evolve? Does it evolve towards a way better or otherwise?
I think the relationship are still there. Okay, both are still connected to each other. Okay, somehow, but maybe the issue is that which one is more dominant? Okay, either is the freedom of literature, okay, the freedom of speech that become the driving force, or the political issue. Okay, I mean, to what extent the teacher really express the opinion of the people, or it just become the mere tool for the propaganda. That are the thing lah. Okay, so we cannot deny that it's a kind of still continuous relationship that happen. Of course, the topics are become more diverse compared to before lah.
Okay. Alright, thank you, Doctor. I guess we have a little bit clearer mind about the questions. Alright, so I guess we will have our next commercial break. And please don't forget to stay soon with us and grab a cup of coffee, stay seated, and also see you soon.
Banyak kerja. Ni boleh cakap. Penat lah you. That's one.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are back with our last session for today's episode in Political Insights, 40 minutes of political knowledge. Previously, we have talked about the specific literature that have been evolving through times, the role that it plays, and also how does it affect the politics and otherwise. Therefore, we are at our last session and I would like to proceed with our questions. So, Doctor, based on your view, in today's world, what would be the issues and themes that you wanted to be addressed through literature? For example, like social equality, or do you have any other kind of issues that you think is suitable for to be addressed?
More on general punya topic.
General.
Okay. Of course, social equality is one of the important topic today.
Yeah.
With the increasing gap between the poor and so the rich, it really the thing that we need to very address. Okay, we know that one of the important or prominent scholar that talk about this is Dr. Mohamad Khalid. Okay, when he wrote this, the color of equality. Okay, this one good book that I will recommend for the audience to read that book. Okay, from that we can see how the inequality happen in our society, and we really need to do something. Okay, to fix that gap. Of course, we cannot totally eradicate the gap, but at least how we are going to closer the gap that happen. And other than that, of course, with the growing political tension that we have today, okay, of course, we need more rational discussion, or what we can say open discussion, okay, regarding our political arena, regarding our political tradition. If not, we will become too polarized. Okay, if not, we will become too polarized, and of course, if not being content, if not being controlled, it will lead to some kind of extreme measure or extreme action by our people. Okay. So one of the things is about the ethics. Okay, about the understanding of the politics also very important. Okay, with the introduction of the newly what we can say vote for the 18 years old, of course we also need to create more exposure to our young generation about the system itself, that what we are practice in Malaysia, and what are their responsibility and what are their rights. That's the only thing. Okay, we always talk about rights, but we forgot about the responsibility. So it should be balanced. Okay, at the same time. Okay.
Alright, okay, thank you, Doctor. Alright, so this is the supplementary questions towards the previous question. So from the above questions, what would be the type of your work and the platform that you will use to share your work to be read and heard by others?
Okay. If I want to relate with my own research, okay, for my master and also basically for my PhD lah, okay, when I do on the idea of statecraft, when on our legal text, okay. This also the idea that have been shared by a few of others professors that I met as well, and they also agree, and they are the one actually first open my mind to this. Okay, the importance of us, okay, to make relevant all the classical text for the contemporary context, especially when we talk about ethics, okay, about the relationship between the ruler and also the people. Okay, we should so it kind of, maybe we can say a kind of combination or synergize between our tradition and also the modern theories on political leadership, for example. Okay, we should make it a kind of not compromise, a kind of combination between the two, to say that we also have our own tradition, okay, and we can do something on that. Okay, regarding the platform, of course, today with the social media punya era, of course we need to, of course there's a kind of encouragement for me by myself. Okay, we have a lot of social media. Okay, of course for the youngest generation, okay, you have more prone to the Twitters, okay, for example, and today of course TikTok is very very popular nowadays. Okay, when I talk about Facebook, people are laughing. Okay, you are still reading Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay? So these are among the media that we can use, that we should. And the thing that I quite interesting, I quite feel relief when increasing numbers of our academicians, okay, started to use all this medium. Okay, there are some who already use, for example, TikTok, for example, or started to write in the Twitter to create all this awareness to our younger generation.
Yeah, I guess it's just the fact that younger generations are more prone to that kind of medium. And I think there have been many cases in which the social media have sparked the interest of the younger generations. For example, if they did like a short video about the interesting books and the historical figures, that is exemplary figures. So I guess there is some good initiative to kickstart or spark their interest. All right. Okay. So the next question would be, from your interest in politics and literature, do you believe that it is possible for someone to get interested in politics through literature? Or is it politics that makes people intrigued with literature?
So, in my personal view, okay, I believe more on the first. Okay, that means people will interested about the politics through the literature. Okay, especially when they want to know about the idea. Okay, and of course about the criticism that happen from time to time. Okay, for example, if you read again, okay, our old novel in the early 20th century, from there we know that, oh, actually our scholars, we can say, or our writers really alert about the political situation by that time, and somehow their writing reflect the ideology that dominant by that time, and what are the concern, what are the issue, and somehow from there we can try to relate to extend the issue are still there or not, and to extend the issue are still relevant, to extend the issue have been answered, have been solved, for example. Okay, if they are still there, is the issue is become better or become worse? Okay, but for those who are start with the politics, it's maybe quite difficult for them to go to the literature unless they are really into this political or ideological punya discussion. Okay, if they want more interested to know about the views, for example, okay, political punya views, public views, maybe they will not go so much on this literature or this text in the tradition.
Alright, so it is literature first, then comes the political interest. Alright, okay, thank you, Doctor. Alright, so I guess there is one more question. So, in your opinion, how can today's literature, such as poetry, novel writings, impact the world, considering that today's generation always spend their time in electronic media rather than, reading all of this poetry and novels?
Okay. Yeah, when people are more using social media, somewhat become rare for the younger generation to recite poem, for example, or to hear the poem recitation. Okay, but I think the interest still can be sparked, can be spread if you are truly utilizing all the social media. Okay, that means the one thing that I grateful with the COVID is that with the increasing use of the social media, recording, for example, in the past, for example, pre-COVID, it's very rare for the people to record any conference, any event, for example, okay, you need to attend, or then you know what happened. But after the COVID, we are more prone to use that. Okay, every time there are lecture or there are any social event, a poetry event, for example, they are kind of recording. And this recording had been edited and had been spread, not only in YouTube, of course, people no longer use YouTube, but have been edited, they become short clips and be posted in the TikTok, for example. And these are the things that somehow really influence the younger generation to know about the poetry, for example, about the text, for example, okay, about the literature. Okay, like you mentioned before, like when somehow people promote books through TikTok. But one of my friends who are bookseller, they say that one of the things that really contribute to their sale and promotion is TikTok. Okay, when they do TikTok, do some kind of simple video about the books, it really help them boost their selling on the book. Okay, and really somehow again recreate back about the interest of the younger generation to read. And they also the thing that also the concept is how our as a commission try to simplify the language of our writings to suit the public punya level or punya level.
Alright. Okay, so I guess before we close, there is one more question. So for our audience, do you have any suggestions about literature works that for starters, for people who are interested but they don't know what kind of books they should read or what kind of literature is suitable for them, for beginners?
For the political writing?
Yeah, political and also Malay literature.
Okay. Of course, I would like for the modern writings on modern discourse on the political ideologies. Of course, this one book published by this Aiman Rashdan Wong is the one that is recommended for you to read. Okay, to understand the modern type of the political system. Okay, but for the classical one, okay, we are quite fortunate. Okay, when recently, okay, Bibliophile had published this one Nasihat Al-Muluk, nasihat untuk Raja-Raja. Okay, in a much simplified style, simplified language for the public. Okay, you can start from that. Our audience can start from that, and from there we can know that, yeah, this is our classical tradition. Okay, and maybe okay, when our audience, our generation reading both tradition or both type of discourse, maybe they can find something. And how, like I say, how to synergize between the two, how to make sense between the two. Okay, there's quite a lot actually. Okay, we are still have, for example, Tamrat Muhimmah are still there, are still being published, so you can read that. It's more, I think it's more modern in terms of the approach in the compared to the other like Tajuk Salatin and Bustan Salatin.
Alright, thank you, Doctor, for suggestions. I guess our audience are really excited to start their journey, embarking their journey on the classical Malay literature. Alright, so I guess that's the end for our episode for today. We would like to say thank you to Dr. Mohamad Hazizie for his kindness and cooperation to become the guest for today's episode. Alright, and also don't forget to follow IIUMTV on all of our social media: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. I guess that's all for today. Stay tuned and please wait for the next episode of Political Insights. That's all from us, Political Insights, 40 minutes of political knowledge. See you soon.